We are here for a meeting with our Historical Society. So with that, we'll turn it over to you guys.
Good morning, Commissioners. Again, my name is Chuck Lohman, and thank you again for having us today. And as well in the audience, we have Tanya Sherman, who is our board president here with us today, and then Hannah Combs, our executive director. So again, I want to start out really quick with a bit of history of our organization and why it exists. It comes from a letter from Arthur Hart, the director of the State Museum, to a Miss Jean Littlefield, and it says this. It's November 9th, 1971, and he says to her, "I believe that you will find it most practical to incorporate as the Bonner County Historical Society. The museum is only one of the functions you will be concerned with, since you will no doubt be primarily after the historical record of your county, papers, maps, documents, photos, reminiscences, and so on, as well as other objects for the museum. Also, this will be consistent with what our other county societies have done. In checking our records, we are unable to find anything related to Mr. Chetham's gun collection. He gave us an old hardware catalog in 1961, but nothing else. If these things from Bonner County were given in another name, you can find out whose, and we'll check again. Dr. Wells, who was here at the time, doesn't think any such collection ever came to us." And cordially, Arthur A. Hart, director of the museum. So there was a gun collection that was sent to the State Museum that never arrived. And so part of the heart of the legislation that was passed in 1961 that enabled the counties to support historical societies in their efforts to maintain historical items from their county was to protect those items and keep it locally accessible by the people who donated them. And so that kind of opens the importance of why we exist as an organization and why we're continuing to ask for your support of our $46,000 budget request. So the Idaho statute, Title 31, Section 846, was enacted in 1961, and this gives the commissioners the clear authority to levy funds specifically for the preservation of historical records, artifacts, and structures. And the legislative intent was very clear, and it's to help communities protect their own history. And again, this was created in response to the Idaho State Historical Society's own inability to house the many historical items that were coming to them from the different counties. The State Historical Society was founded in the early 1910s, and by the 1950s, they were unable to house the many historical items coming to them. And so their response was not to make the State Museum or Historical Society bigger, but was to empower the local counties to preserve their own history. There was a statement that long-term support of our museum operations were not a reasonable use for the taxing district, and we respectfully disagree. It's not only a reasonable use of public funds, but it's explicitly authorized and an intended use under Idaho law. Preservation is not a luxury, it's a public duty, and one that this board is uniquely empowered to support. It's also worth noting that when the museum was founded, or when the museum was finally built, the Bonner County commissioners authorized $9,600 in levy funds in 1977, and this was equivalent to about $54,000 today. And we're asking for less than that in real dollars, nearly 50 years later, for the same purpose, for the stewardship of Bonner County's history. So what this $46,000 supports, and I'm going to cruise down here. So our overall budget for 2025 was $164,000. But just the monies to preserve the collection is a total of $54,000. And you'll see here this budget breakdown shows you how we break down all the monies that are spent in the museum, and what we see is used directly to support the preserving of the collection. And so that's our $46,000 is less than what we see is needed, but that's what we're asking for your support, is just to preserve the collection. The other activities there, we are actively working to raise support, do fundraisers. This last weekend, we did a community picnic. We had folks from Blanchard, from Hope, from Sagal, from Priest Lake, all sponsoring games and a tent that highlighted our local history and brought our community together. We actually got 29 new members to the museum for that, or to the Historical Society. So we're actively doing the effort to go out and get the work to bring people in, to make our programs more effective. But we're not asking you to support the programs, we're asking you to support us in preserving the collection. I will turn it over to Hannah right now. She can talk to you really quickly about what we've done to increase revenue. And I'll come back in a few minutes and talk about what we're doing with our facilities and our capital improvement projects.
Thank you. Okay, so I have a document here. You specifically asked for information about the services and programs we provide and how we have taken efforts to make those programs more self-sustaining. So this document gives you an overview of the fee increases we've made over the last 2 years to both our programs and our research and other service fees. I'm going to go through those really briefly. We have increased our membership, household membership from $50 to $60, senior from $25 to $30. We've added a higher membership tier for those who can afford it, which has been pretty popular. I'd say about 30% of our household members have increased to the patron tier in the past year. We've also made a nominal increase to our admissions to keep that affordable, yet to keep up with inflation and increased operating funds. We've increased our average ticket price for our lecture events to more closely align with the other events, similar events that we're seeing throughout the community. And we have also started charging $1 per student for school tours, which will not be a lot of income, but it is, like you had mentioned, can we leverage that to bring in a little bit of money to support our own education programs? And it hasn't proved prohibitive yet, so it seems like the schools are able to accommodate that fee. We've also made some significant increases to our research fees. These do take quite a bit of labor, and we have based those increases on the amount of staff and volunteer labor involved. So we have started a program to train those who are interested in really learning how to do research themselves. They have to become a member and then go through a training program to do that. They would be charged a small fee for each project from there forward. For research that is conducted by our volunteers, we've increased our fee from $10 per hour to $25 an hour with a discount for members. And for research conducted by our staff, we've increased that from $20 an hour to $75 an hour, again with a 10% discount for members. I'll talk about this a little bit later, but there are possibilities for people to receive a deeper discount on a by as needed basis.
Can I ask you, when did you make those changes? Were they June, is that what you say when you say June 2025 on the top of our sheet, or?
So we have been making the changes to the research fees over the last 2 years. We've kind of been testing what people were willing to pay, and this is what we've settled on. We've tweaked it a few times over the last 18 months or so.
So when was the official change from like the 10 to the 25? Do you know?
Yeah, that would have been in, I want to say around October of last year. We've increased the fee for our our commercial property packages, and we have not made any increases yet to our photo order structure, which seems that is based on how the photos will be used, and it seemed like it's still aligned with a reasonable fee. We also added a few new fees in 2025. This year, we have offered different types of research packages that we could provide. This is if someone wants a completely hands-off experience and they don't want to do any of the research themselves. We've also seen an interest in from different community organizations and businesses in providing curation services. We do these as we have resources available, but if a local business would like us to curate a photo exhibit for them, that is a service we can offer, and we increase that. We've done kind of odds and ends projects in the past where we charge $25 an hour. We've formalized that process this year and have increased that fee to $50 per hour. So here at the bottom, we can show how those fee increases have tracked in our income over the last 3 years. So we had, I would say in 2023, we had the old fee structures that I showed above. In 2024, we had increased the lecture tickets, but we had fewer events, so that's why that one is lower. And then in 2025, we are, I have the year-to-date there as well as our budgeted amount for 2025. I would note that about 50% of our memberships are renewed between Thanksgiving and the end of the year, so that number will jump quite a bit at the end of the year. Otherwise, we are on track to reach those goals, except admissions have been low this year, lower than last year at least. Since 2019, they've almost doubled, but they are low compared to last year. So we're trying to figure out why that is, if it's just with the economy, people aren't traveling as much, or if it's something that we can increase through marketing efforts. So that is something we're actively trying to improve.
You do have a Facebook page, right?
We do, yeah. We have about 3,000 followers on Facebook. Do you have any questions about this document?
How has the fee increases been received since they've been in there since October-ish?
Yeah, we haven't seen, everyone has been acceptable to or amenable to all of the increases. We do get a little bit of pushback sometimes on the research fees, depending on what people are looking for. A lot of times people don't understand how much time it takes to go through all of the documents and find that information. Or sometimes people come in with what they see as a very simple question, but it actually is a lot more complex than they initially think. So it's a bit of an education process to help people understand what services we do provide and what that entails from a labor point, and then why it has value to them. And we have moved toward having that conversation up front and really being transparent about what the costs are and getting them to say, yes, I'm okay with this, I agree to these terms before we go and do the research, because it's a lot harder if we do all the work and then they're like, whoa, I didn't plan to spend this money. So we've really front-loaded that conversation to help them better understand how it works.
That sounds like a reasonable response, though, to people going from little to no money and then having to pay for kind of that service.
Yeah.
So that's actually a really good outcome of changing the system from a completely, the least amount to actually paying for what you're getting. So that's a good response.
That statute you cited?
Yes, sir.
Is that the correct statute?
Title 31, 846.
I looked that up real quick and it doesn't look like it pertains to this.
There was another one that's section 31, that dealt with, I think, transportation. I can look that up for you again really quick and
My notes say I see there are two numbers. The first, and I'm not sure which one would work with the search engine you're looking for. There's one that's IC 31-864.
864.
Yeah.
oh, I may have gotten it.
That one's a couple numbers.
I'm sorry for that.
All right. I'd be happy to discuss a little bit about our marketing efforts, and that is the printed handout you have.
Can I ask a question here? Because I
Of
read this
course.
when I copied this. So one of the conversations that this board had with you guys when you were here before was marketing to the same group of people versus looking at a greater expansion of who you're marketing to,
Yeah.
because you have likely exhausted that pool. What changes were made post that conversation regarding that aspect of it?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing, and Chuck mentioned this, we had our Pioneer Picnic recently, and through that effort, we decided we want this picnic to be for the entire community. We need to reach the people in Blanchard and in Clark Fork and Priest Lake and the outlying parts of the county. Knowing that we wouldn't necessarily get those communities through our existing Facebook page or the efforts we were already undertaking, we actually sent some of our volunteers to those communities in person to go to their city halls, to go to their community halls, and to hand out flyers and to talk to some of the people in those communities about what is the best way to get in touch with the people who live here. So that's something that we have been compiling over the last maybe 6 weeks. But we are working on trying to kind of not necessarily tailor communications with every single town in the county, but help us gain a better understanding of where their citizens are getting information.
I'll say that I noticed a difference only because the first time that I've ever lived in Blanchard was there an invitation to that event or anything related to the historical. And I think that was part of the comment that this board, it's microphones, we can't overtime. That was the first time that it looked like the footprint was going outside of Sandpoint, because we had the flyer at our Conoco station, which is our communication data hub in Blanchard, but also at the post office.
Yes.
And so it was noticeably different, which I think kind of confirms that board position of you guys were only talking to the same people year after year and not considering that a lot of the outlying areas that aren't central to seeing the sign when you drive past don't get contacted to even look at the Historical Society or be welcomed, because Bonner County has a historical comment of were you born here versus do you care about being here? And there's a lot of people that do, and there were people that I know that were in Blanchard that actually went to that picnic, and the only way they knew about that picnic was because they got information outside of the Sandpoint area. So I think that method was a positive way of getting people interested in
Great.
the Historical Society. I hope that you guys continue to not just look at the people that are already on your data roll, because that was a whole group of people that you've missed for the years of not reaching out to them. You guys gave one flyer, because I checked on it, we have one section where we kind of talk about stuff, of how did your flyer move from place to place, and it was moved by people who were, what are you going to do? And they made copies. And so at
That's so
Conoco,
great.
someone said,
Okay.
Christine, can you make a copy of this flyer? I want to put it at this location.
All right.
The community helped advertise because you
That's
advertised
amazing.
to them, and that was a big difference. And it was the first time and only time I've ever seen that down in that area. So that was a very good way of marketing.
Thank you,
And
yeah.
then using, once you make those connections of saying, well, I know that those are the places that people are going to, so I can put my flyer at the Conoco station, and Christine, who sits there all day, will tell everybody about, are you going to the picnic? And that helps what you're looking for, but that was a difference, and it was noticed down there, so good job on that.
Thank you. I'm glad that was appreciated.
If you go to the slide that has our marketing outreach, that's one of the pages.
So everyone has a handout.
that was one of the questions that you asked
Yep.
as a board, and we were very excited to get that information because it did give us another lens. And so can you show them the additional steps on top of that that we also are doing to reach? I mean,
She gave us she handed us a printed out form of that. I just wanted to make a specific comment because you got a positive outcome from changing a position, and that was only a few months ago of
Yeah.
saying the same
And we're so
thing.
excited to get that input and then be able to dive deeper into that. So if we know, like Christine, then we'll keep going and making sure that we, I mean, this is wonderful feedback, and again, I wanted to say thank you for all the input that you've given us the last meeting, because it's been really, really helpful. So very exciting.
I'll say I've also noted since our first meeting, I've noted the uptick in information that I'm seeing,
Great.
which is also a positive piece, just to say that it's, I think we all spend time in different parts of the county. We are on different electronic platforms. So the ones that I'm exposed to, I'm also seeing more. So I want to share that as well, so that I am appreciative of the fact that you guys have taken sincerely some of the comments that we made, and that we can actually see some of the impact that those changes have had. As a constructive feedback comment, I would also like to just ask that in the future, if you could try to provide information a few days or more in advance of our meetings, because of our schedules. Not only does our staff have to have time to process and get it to us, but then we have to have time to review it in advance so that we can be more prepared to come with good questions and be more productive and efficient in the meetings. So I think this has been really good information, and I appreciate it. But if I have some time before the meeting to actually review it first, then I'm not trying to process it all in the meeting, and sometimes not catch everything.
Part of
So-
that, I don't know where it fell off, but we didn't know there was a meeting until Tuesday, and so we spent all day yesterday
Gotcha.
hammering out all the information, because we have been working on this. We've got a capital improvement plan that we're working through.
Okay.
And so we did our level best to try and get it to you yesterday. Granted, we should have had it to you last week. So,
I appreciate the feedback, but just, we ask everyone to, inside the county, outside of the county government, we ask everyone to get us the information as far in advance, just because of our schedules and trying to be able to digest as much of it as we can before we show up to the meeting. So, but thank you.
And I'm hopeful that as we are able to do more outreach to every community in Bonner County, that we will have people who become interested in volunteering for the museum and then acting as sort of ambassadors from their community to us, as well as from the museum to their community, to help keep that communication flowing. I've talked to other nonprofits who say, like, oh, we're in a digital age, we don't hang up flyers, no one uses them. And I'm like, that's the best way to get the word out. People do respond to those. So.
I think you have to know your area, because our southwest Bonner County is a flyer area.
Absolutely.
That is- people bring me the flyer just to set down at that particular station, because I live down there. And so it's knowing where to push it. And ours is we like the flyers. So even during election time, I go, I don't have your flyer sitting at that station, because that's what people want. I think knowing them and then identifying how to communicate, like you said, is going to be beneficial, because people don't know what to support if they're not encouraged to or invited. Because when you look at that particular area, it's a lot of people that are moving into the area. Our area is very strong worded on the "were you born here?"
Yeah.
So coming to the Bonner County Historical Museum doesn't sound like that's where you would go if someone doesn't invite you to go to that. So I think that's a nice change.
Yeah. And
Commissioner-
I just want to add that we, in June, we created a marketing internship. And so we have a young woman now who is helping us specifically with marketing and outreach. She's very ambitious, and I'm hoping that we can keep that internship going year after year, because I think it is the area where we could use the most.
I want to go back to Commissioner Corn now that he got the statute correct. Did you have something you wanted to add?
No, it does look like we actually levy for the Historical Society.
Yes.
And I'm also trying to find your Facebook page. Is it Bonner County
History Museum.
History Museum? Bonner County History.
I'd like to ask a question of the clerk, put him on the spot, unfortunately.
Do it.
Do you know if the amount being requested fits within the authorized levy amount per statute?
Absolutely it does.
Thank you.
So I have a question for you. At the last time we were here, there was a phenomenal suggestion to have a marketing theme based on my history at Bonner County began in year whatever, by bumper stickers or hats or whatever. Have you done anything with that yet?
We have,
Whose idea was that?
It was the public's.
yeah, we have been, this is why the marketing intern, I think, will be helpful.
You can just ask him when he's volunteering for that program. That's how you
We
get a
do
volunteer.
welcome volunteers all the
You have
time.
to, that's where you leverage being in the meeting, because if it didn't move forward, you say, we need a volunteer, are you volunteering? And you know where he lives.
There we go. Get it on the record.
He's up for reelection, so that would be like a bumper sticker, so you do all of those things.
So one of the things, I guess I need to measure.
Did you get it?
No, I can't.
Did they block you?
One of the
It's been
things,
some of those comments.
one of the things as well that we've done is we've identified all the Grange halls and who's managing those, and then taking some of our programs. For our members, we have a kind of a member-only program that one of the members puts together some historical presentation, and then we want to take that to the Grange halls as well to kind of build that community. Now, again, that's volunteer-driven, but that's one of the initiatives that we've got going as well.
Yeah, I think that's great.
I showed it to him. I texted you the
I think
link,
it's
so
a
you can just
perfect
click on it.
demographic to reach.
It'll make it easier.
And I'll give
That's
you
your-
Since you can't print
a
it.
quick tip if you're not aware already, for, I don't know all the
Oh,
details, but for
it sent it to
example,
your email.
the Edgemere Grange in the Hoodoo
I
Valley
don't come up with that.
is a historic building that was relocated from a different Grange site to its current location at some point in time. So there's layers of history associated with that building and the location. And there are some really dedicated folks, I think, with each Grange Hall in the county, so that's great.
Aren't you 8773? Your number?
I wasn't sure if I gave them enough time to
I got
overcome technology.
You got me.
So I do have just one more document. This is really for reference. It's something that I am working on at least twice a year. I go through our grants database, look for new opportunities. But just to understand why we're struggling to use grant funding for operating funds. I've researched almost 80 grants. These include federal, state, local, foundation grants, everything available. And this, I don't, unless you'd like me to, I don't have to go through it in excruciating detail, but this does document of those different types of grants, which ones can be used for operations, which ones are one-time only grants.
How many have you
that
guys
kind of thing.
applied for?
This year, I've applied for 4, and we have 3 local grants that we are almost always a shoo-in for. I've also applied for a $15,000 grant from the Equinox Foundation.
So excluding the 3 local ones, how many? Is that just the one?
Yeah.
Okay, no federal?
No federal.
Okay.
And again, most of those federal grants were shut off this year.
Or they're in the process of being reevaluated right now. So a lot of them are when you look them up, they say they're currently paused for the agencies to reevaluate them and potentially change how they will operate.
Does the board have any further questions for the Historical Society regarding their request?
Just one. Under the preserving the collection column that you highlighted, that you're specifically targeting your request of funding to the county for, there's the line for facility repairs and maintenance. Does some of that cost include the repair of the roof for the main building?
let me come up and. So that is a bigger project than the amount. And so
Yes.
if,
That's why I'm asking.
yep, no, absolutely. And I thank you for that. So here is the capital improvements that we're currently looking at. We've had Ramey Construction along with North Root Architecture, and then as well, two companies' quotes of $60,000 and $87,000 for the roof repairs. And largely the difference is based on assumptions on what underneath the existing roof needs to be repaired and replaced. So, so this is, again, one of those things that we've established a sinking fund. So we're going to be paying annually into that based on our budget excess at the end of the year. Just some quick GTP chat search on what it would take to, and what we should be looking to set aside annually for the maintenance and repair of our facility. And you're looking at anywhere from $25,000 to $37,000 a year we should be spending and setting aside for our facilities. And to this point, we've not done that well. And it's been mostly emergency management. And so
That would be your preventative maintenance plan.
that would be the preventative maintenance plan. And that's something we're working towards, but that's something that, again, is down the road.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any further questions from the board?
I don't think so.
All right. Public, do you have a comment? All right, it is 10:35 and this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate the additional information and the responsiveness to the